Good evening. So I would like to start my presentation with one simple question, which is the Earth round or flat? So before you roll your eyes, what if I were to tell you if 10% of people today still believe the Earth is flat, despite all overwhelming scientific evidences, all the pictures from the space? They still believe, 10% still believe the Earth is flat. So why do people still don't believe the facts, despite all the overwhelming scientific evidences? Well, the answer is, facts alone don't always shape the beliefs, what stories do. So think about this. If something as simple as Earth's shape is debated today, imagine how storytelling can impact your data, your leadership, and your business. So my name is Melisa. I'm the Director of Enterprise Insights at First West Credit Unionn. Today we'll talk about the power of data storytelling. Why storytelling is so important in today's business and data? So researchers say that people remember stories 22 times more than the raw facts. That's proven. If I were to tell you today that 42% of this room cannot save anymore, that's a valuable fact. But if I were to tell you the story of Dave, who saved for 20 years, but now draining his savings because of the increasing interest rates, most likely you'll remember Dave's story. Stories create emotional connections. They create empathy and trust. Stories make our data actionable. In today's world, our leaders don't want more data. They would like actions. Stories simplify complexity, especially for the non-technical stakeholders. And we would like to think we would decide rationally, but actually, it's proven that people decide emotionally first, then they justify their decisions with their logic. Okay, so let's pause here for a second. If storytelling is so impactful, like, do we need to use it all the time? Like, can it ever be misused? And why we still ask for the moral of the story at the end of the day? So let's challenge it. Sometimes too much narrative increases cognitive load. It makes quick decisions harder. Sometimes stories can distort complex financial realities. So this is oversimplification, and they can create bias. Memorable isn't always accurate, right? Narratives can alter key insights. There is a risk for misinterpretation. And our audience, it is so important. Know your audience. If you are working with high performers, finance and tech pros, like you today, oftentimes they will prefer the raw data over storytelling. Okay, so how are we gonna know when to use story or when to stick to the facts? Use raw data when your audience is highly data-driven and prefer direct metrics. If precision is critical, and if you don't have any room for emotional interpretation, use the raw data. If you have a time-sensitive decision that requires a rapid analysis, raw data will help. And if your context is financial forecasting, risk management, or operational efficiency, raw data is going to help you. Use stories when you are working with a skeptical or disengaged audience that needs emotional relevance. If your goal is to pursue people, to motivate them, or to make a change in the behavior, stories are going to help you. If your data is complex and it needs some context for clarity, use stories. And use stories when decision makers need compelling way to understand insights to drive action. Well, like our life was a bliss, now we'll have to decide when to use story, when not to use story. And this has been a challenge for me too. I work as a director at a credit union, and we know our members really well. In every interaction with our members, there is always a story behind it. And that's what makes us different. And in order to give my team a tool that they are going to make them better data storytellers, and also in order to ensure that all my stakeholders understand our insights better, I wanted to come up with an approach, and I called it Need for Story Index. It's nowhere perfect. It's still work in progress, and I would like to hear your thoughts on that too. So, in order to understand how much story is actually too much, or how much story we would need, I look at 4 things. I look at the complexity of data, I look at the motivation, skill, and engagement of my stakeholder. And by considering those 4 components, I calculate the audience quotient, AQ. So let's storify this. Let's start with the data complexity. So data complexity cannot be 0, right? In the denominator, when it's 0, it means there is no data. When there is no data, there is no story, and there is no need for story, obviously. So it needs to be from 1 to n. So when your data is complex, your AQ is going to be low, and you'll need less storytelling. On the numerator, we have the motivation, skill, and engagement for our audience. So if you are working with a highly motivated, super engaged, and skilled stakeholders, your AQ is going to be high. And even 1 word will be enough to get them going. But if you are working with a less motivated, unskilled, and disengaged audience, your AQ is going to be low. And as you can see from the graph, it's easy. Higher AQ means less storytelling. You can use your raw data. Lower AQ is going to mean more storytelling. So this has been a go-to tool for myself, and that helped me a lot in my projects with my stakeholders. So I can hear you asking, okay, so we can change the data complexity, but can we change the motivation or skill or engagement of our audience? Is there a way to do so? Actually, there is a way. If you can make them care for your data or your business problem, if you can grab their caring capital, actually, it's going to increase. And when your AQ increases, you'll need less storytelling. Okay, so the question is then, how are we going to grab the caring capital from our audience? So I'll share 3 things about this. First of all, when you have a data or a business problem, you need to come up with a hook that's going to get their attention from the stakeholders. So when you can get their attention, and when you can grab some curiosity, it is going to open the door for you. And if you can touch their motivation, their ego, their fears, they'll start caring for your business problem or for your data. That's how you can grab the caring capital of your audience. I know it's easy to say, but it's not easy. But luckily, there are many tools, many proven techniques for grabbing the caring capital of our audience. So from here, I'll be sharing with you 1 tool and 1 proven technique that's going to help you, hopefully, grab the caring capital from your audience. Okay, so here is how marketing teams can grab the caring capital from our stakeholders. Personas. Do you use personas in your day-to-day business? Are you familiar with persona concepts? You do? So at First West Credit Unionn, personas are in the core of our business. What we do is, by using our first and third-party data, by bringing them all together, we create personas for our member base, and we use them in all strategic conversations, in priorities. So personas are great tools for data storytelling if your audience is right. Personas actually do two things exceptionally well. They put a face to your data. So instead of talking about segment A, segment B, cluster C, you talk about Dave, you talk about Elizabeth. And when I say Dave, everyone knows who Dave is. Everyone knows what matters to Dave. And from there, we start talking about how we can help Dave. So personas do two things really well. They bring empathy to your data and trust. And the second thing is they make your data actionable. So if I were to tell you today there are 1,000 people at First West Credit Unionn who is vulnerable, that's a fact, that's such an important data. But if I tell you the story of Dave, who's been struggling because of interest rates, so there's a story behind it, and most likely you would like to help members like Dave. So for that reason, the personas are great tools for data storytelling. From here, I'll be sharing the proven story techniques, and today we'll only dive into the first one because of time constraints. So if you search it up, you'll see that there are 3 proven storytelling techniques in the market. The first one is hook, insights, and action. The second one is and, but, therefore. This really works with analytical teams because it gives such a logical and straightforward approach. And the third one is story spine, which we are really familiar from Pixar's movies. So once upon a time, there was Dave, and it goes on. So we'll dive into the hook, insight, action technique today. But before I dive into the technique, first of all, I would like to storyify this with a business problem. So like many FIs, financial institutions, core deposit growth is a really big priority for us this year. Oops. Can you see my screen? Did I do something else? Okay. So our business problem is core deposit growth, and let's say you are giving this table with some kind of financials in your company, and obviously from Q1 to Q4 you are seeing a decreasing interest rates from 5 to 4.2, and you see a stable lending growth across the quarters. But when you look at core deposit growth, there is a negative core deposit growth. So obviously, the problem is, despite declining interest rates, core deposit growth remains slow, or actually negative. So let's say you have this data, and you are asked it to deliver to different stakeholders. So let's see how we use hook, insight, action method to deliver our insights to our stakeholders so they can care. I start with my hook. I pick a hook that's relevant for my stakeholder. So this time, let's say we are delivering this problem to our senior executives. So we pick a hook that's really relevant for them. So we talk about the deposit dilemma. We talk about liquidity at risk, declining deposits, threaten loan capacity and profitability. So why I pick this one as a hook? Because it's so relative. So it talks about all the metrics that's going to be relevant for the senior executives. So it includes the liquidity risk, it talks about competition, it impacts the strategic growth. Then I deliver my insights. I deliver, say, customers hesitate to stay, prioritizing high interest debt repayments over deposits despite decreasing interest rates from 5 to 4.2. And then I close my loop with my action. Then I come up with different action alternatives, And we asked them, this is the problem, let's address the core deposit challenge with some suggestions attached to that. So do you see how this hook grabs attention from the senior executives? Because it talks about all relevant metrics for them. So that's how we could use the hook, insight, and action method for the senior executives. So what if our stakeholders are marketing teams this time? So how are we going to change the way we deliver the insight? So here, remember the story of Dave. Use the power of personas. This time, talk about Dave as a hesitant saver. Talk about Dave. Talk about who he is, 47-year-old father who drained his savings to pay off his high-interest debt. So interest rates fell, but because of trust issues, Dave is not still saving. So start with a hook that's relevant for the marketing teams. So why is this important? Because without the right message, customers like Dave will stay disengaged, making it harder to encourage core deposit or long-term financial relationships. So you get your attention, you made them care for your business problem. Then deliver the reality. So trust in financial institutions at all-time low, delaying deposit recovery. And then call them for action. Ask them, hey, how are we going to help members like Dave? Ask them help you on this business problem. Okay, so this was a proven technique in the market, but if you ask me, as Melisa, with 20 plus years of analytical experience in this market, how do I do it? So my approach to storytelling is this. I deliver the data first, regardless. So for me, data is objective, factual, and authoritative. The benefits, it builds trust, it builds authority. And for engaged, skilled, and motivated audiences, it's going to save everyone's time because they are going to connect with you right away. So the challenge, think about AQ, think about the data complexity. If your data is complex, they may need more data storytelling. So if the data is complicated, it can be overwhelming for some audiences. And if left without context, it risks disengaging part of the audience. So that's why, in my second step, I personalize my data. I make it matter for them. So how I do it, I provide meaning by interpreting what the data means for different stakeholders, what it means for executive level, what it means for marketing team. So the benefit is, it creates caring through connection established between data and the person. And by doing so, we foster interconnectedness by showing how insights impact different teams in the organization. So this is my approach to storytelling. From here, I will leave you with this sentence. Okay, so we are actually data people. I am a data person. I was educated, trained for this. Not storytellers. So the question is it fair for us to be great at storytelling? So the answer is, yes, we have to. In today's world, we have to become really good storytellers. But luckily, today, we have lots of tools, lots of techniques, and today we have the power of Gen AI, right? So we talked about the power of AI today a lot. Let's park the risks and concerns related with AI for now. Let's talk about the power of storytelling of Gen AI solutions. So do you think, for example, an AI solution can beat Shakespeare's poem? Can it be a better poem writer? So what do you think about it? So if you have doubts about it, then I'll share with you a very interesting study that was done last year. It's a really recent study. It was, I think, conducted last year in October. So study reaches out to 1,700 people, and they were shown different poems from different poets. So half of them are really famous ones like Shakespeare, like Emily Dickinson, and half of them were poems written by ChatGPT 3.5. So, and they were asked two things. They were asked to distinguish which poem is written by whom, like by an AI robot, AI solution, or a human. And the second thing was they were asked to rate the quality and emotional impact of the poems they see. So here are the results. 54% could not distinguish if a poem is written by a human or an AI solution, more than the half. And oftentimes, AI-written poems were rated higher in quality and emotional impact than the classics, like Shakespeare or Emily Dickinson. So obviously, if used properly, AI solutions are great tools in creative writing and can deliver compelling and emotionally resonant narratives. Okay. We are not applying for the Pulitzer Prize, for sure, but if AI can tell a better story than Shakespeare to Shakespeare lovers, it can certainly storify your data into compelling narratives that your audience understand, care, and act on. So, in today's world, data is no longer just numbers. So it is a story waiting to be told. So there are three things that we need to consider. The first one is the most critical one. Know your audience first. Are you working with an executive or are you working with an analytical team member? Know your audience first. Secondly, think about the need for story index. So think about the components of it. Always ask if your stakeholder is motivated, engaged, or skilled, or what kind of a data you are working with. So think about the need for story index and understand it. And the third one, don't forget that your inputs are going to shape the outputs of an AI. So for that, for a healthy anatomy of prompt engineering, please make sure you give the right tone, the right emotion to AI, and make sure you define the problem, do you define the stakeholder, if you would like to get a healthy and powerful output from your AI solution. So I know there are many concerns around AI, and we talked about it today. But for me, the question is not whether we should use AI or not to use AI. For me, the question is how we use AI to enhance our data storytelling today. It is such a powerful tool, and it is not a threat at all. So AI can analyze the data faster, better, but there's one thing that AI cannot do, is the human touch, right? So that's the missing power. So I spent the last 1 year, or maybe a little bit more, thinking about how we can use human touch with AI to create ultimate power, that's what I call it. And hopefully I'll be sharing it with you in another summit. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Melisa. Are there any questions from our audience for Melisa today?
Please.
I wondered whether you have attempted to use any classification technique to classify your user base to different personas.
You mean clustering and all that different things? Of course, actually, like the way we create our personas, actually, could you go back to the presentation? I had a slide, maybe I can quickly show it. Thank you so much. Oops. No, it's not working. I'm not touching. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so Yes, actually, we use clustering methods to create our persona. So like I shared, what we do is we use our first-party data and we partner with a vendor for our third-party data. And we bring all these data together in a clustering algorithm. That's how we create our personas. And at First Credit Union, for example, we have 11 different persona groups that are determined with this clustering approach.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else?
Anything else or other questions from the audience for Melisa?
Please.
Same table, I think, just on the other side.
Please pick an easy question.
This is a very easy question. Do you think in the future, human being as a persona gonna disappear? I mean, human being as storyteller gonna disappear?
Sorry, I couldn't understand.
Do you think in the future,
Yes.
human being as a storyteller gonna disappear in data analytics?
Human beings are...
Human being as a storyteller gonna disappear?
So like I said, so for me, AI is hygiene in today's market, right? So we have to learn the power of how to use AI for better storytellers. Yes, human beings have to be great storytellers, but there are many tools, and AI is one of them. So in the future, we have to partner with AI solutions if you would like to be great storytellers.
Thank you so much, Melisa.
Yeah, thank you so much.